Hi, everybody. I'm Kendall Smith alongside of Wes Mitchell here to react to South Carolina's bowl selection. The Gamecocks taking on the UNC Tar Heels on December 30th at 11:30 a.m. in Charlotte, North Carolina for the Duke's Mayo Bowl. And Wes, we got to just start off by talking about Mayo in general. And then we'll go ahead and kind of get into the nitty gritty of what this game is about, what to expect, how these two teams compare. But going to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, I think it's essential that everybody on Gamecock Central knows where you stand with the condiment of mayo.
Yeah, it's kind of a controversial condiment, I feel like. I am pro mayo all the way. You grow up in the South, maybe a tomato sandwich in the summer, salt, pepper, mayo, a BLT. I'm here for. I'm not gonna go overboard with it like some people, but I definitely am pro mayo. I don't know about a mayo bath after a game though. Like this whole talk about the coaches getting mayo dumped on his head. That is actually the exact spot that I draw the line.
I mean, I feel like the mayo bath is kind of original. It's different. But my question is, like, when you get a Gatorade bath, it comes out really, really fast because it's liquidy. So how do you make sure that the mayo comes out fast out of, I don't know, maybe a Gatorade jug? Like, you're going to have to mix in some water with that so that way it's a little bit more liquidy, I think, which makes it even more disgusting. But Shane Beamer said yesterday he would take one for the team if it meant winning a bowl game, but he also said that he didn't really like mayo, and I think that might be like a bad omen, some bad type of juju going into this game. You can't say that you don't like mayo when you're going to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and Duke's Mayo is a huge thing in the South. I mean, I grew up in the South as well, so just giving my take on mayo here, it's the best condiment 100%, especially spicy mayo. Like if I'm getting sushi, spicy mayo is probably going to be on my plate 99% of the time. I'll do a BLT chicken salad with the mayo in it. Like I'm all about the sauces, I'm all about the condiments, and I will load them up on my plate. And mayo is that one thing that is pretty much there all the time, and it's going to be a staple of my meal. So I'm excited for the Duke's Mayo Bowl. I know the media, they usually give a gift out. When I went to the Belk Bowl a couple of years ago between Virginia Tech and Kentucky, they gave us Belk gift cards. I'm hoping for a big jar of mayo when I get there. That's Duke's Mayo brand. That would genuinely make me so happy.
Well, it would make you happy. It would make some people very unhappy. I will say this.
Taylor being that
Duke's literally Duke's over Hellman's. Like that's not just because they're the bowl sponsor. If you live in the Southeast, you only have eyes for Duke's, right? Like it has to be Duke's at all times. There's a very big difference between Duke's mayo and other mayo, in my opinion. So I think we've already reached our limit on the word mayo in this. So we're not going to say, we're going to think of another word because we've said it like 100 times already. But seriously, I'm here for it, although I would dodge the mayo bath because all I can think of right now when you were talking about adding water was the Alyssa Lang mayonnaise coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Disgusting. So that idea does not give mayo a good name. I'm more about the sandwiches and the spicy mayo with sushi. I'm here for that as well.
Yeah, and you'd probably get a lot of flies coming over to you if you had mayo drenched all over your body outdoors on a football field, which is also just disgusting. But I'm pretty sure most
become a meme. You become a meme.
You would. Oh, 100%. 100%. But
you got to avoid that, I feel like.
At all costs, college football coaches need to avoid becoming memes because it happens so often and there are so many things people can do with the meme. I think Shane Beamer has already become a meme a couple of times this season, so it could happen. You got to
avoid the meme. Win the game, but avoid the mayo bath.
Hashtag avoid the meme, the new trend college coaches need to follow. But I'm pretty sure most people didn't tune into the show to hear us talk about
They've already cut us off.
Mayo. Although, they probably already cut us off. Everyone's out of here by now. We're going to talk about the matchup between South Carolina and North Carolina for this December 30th at Duke's Mayo Bowl. And Wes, were you surprised by this bowl selection at all? I mean, South Carolina taking on North Carolina, who's just right across the border in Chapel Hill. Did anything about this surprise you, or was this pretty standard?
I think it was pretty standard. You started to see reports and hear rumblings last week that South Carolina was probably headed to Mayo Bowl. And, I think there was talk about North Carolina at the time being probably the most likely team or one of the most likely teams. So, it makes sense. I think certainly Charlotte and those guys are looking at it saying, hey, these are two fan bases that not only are going to travel, but there's a lot of Gamecock fans that already live in Charlotte. I'm sure there's a lot of UNC grads that have, moved to Charlotte as well. So I think they're looking at it saying, even though the team, North Carolina did not have the season they thought they would have. South Carolina's sort of coming from the other end of it. Nobody really projected them to get to a bowl. They get to a bowl, and they're probably saying people are going to come to this game, even if the North Carolina fans aren't even that incredibly excited about it. It's probably like, okay, it's right there. Let's go enjoy another game. So, I think it makes complete sense from that standpoint to match these two teams up, and it's just long enough since the last time that these two teams play, and the fact that it's not Muschamp anymore. You got a new regime. I thought the fans took it a little bit better than they would have, because as we know, the Gamecocks have some demons right now that they've got to exercise with that stadium in that town and facing ACC teams.
Listen, I went to the Belk Bowl back in 2018, was it, when South Carolina played Virginia? And I was considering where I wanted to go to college at that point. My parents were like, okay, we'll get us tickets to the Belk Bowl, go to that game, watch that smackdown where South Carolina just absolutely got annihilated by Virginia. And then my first game that I covered for South Carolina when I was in college was the UNC South Carolina game at Bank of America Stadium back in 2019. So I've been there for the last two times that South Carolina has played at B of A Stadium, and it is just – I can see how there are some demons there because it hasn't gone so well. A funny story about that, actually, my parents were telling me yesterday. They bought tickets to the game because I'm from Charlotte, and they were like, yeah, we went to the 2019 game, and this guy who was a South Carolina fan was sitting in front of us, and he was screaming at Sam Howell. He was like, welcome to the SEC, Sam Howell. Like, this is how it is. Lo and behold, UNC comes back, Sam's first game as the quarterback for UNC as a freshman, and they win that game. And of course, Sam is from Charlotte as well. So a little hometown bragging rights there too. But speaking of UNC and Sam Howell, still the quarterback for the Tar Heels, what do you know about how Chapel Hill's team might compare to South Carolina?
Yeah, it's interesting. They came in preseason top 10. It was supposed to be a big year for them. They had a lot of momentum. They recruited very well. And, it's been a very disappointing season for them. We're talking right off the, before we went on air here, right off the bat, they fall in week one, I think, and really never completely recovered. I know they had a big upset win over Wake Forest. That was probably their best win of the year. That game was like into the 50s, I think, for both teams. So they've scored points. Their offense has still been relatively good. I think they've struggled on defense from what I've seen, and really, as well as they've started recruiting the last couple of years, it just has not quite translated yet to the field. That's been a little bit surprising to me. It really felt like they had a ton of momentum coming in, and you wonder, does Sam Howell play in this game? I think that's a conversation that that's always a conversation when it comes to bowl games. So I think it's an intriguing matchup. Winnable. We've been using that word a lot in our before the sandstorms this year. Is it a winnable game for South Carolina? Is it not? I think this is a winnable game for South Carolina if they play well.
You talk about Sam Howell potentially not playing in this game, and I think there are two really interesting sides to that story. Of course, Sam most likely going to be a very high pick in the 2022 NFL draft, so not playing in the bowl game would save him from any potential injuries that might occur during that game. Another thing, though, potentially knowing that it is his last game at UNC, playing in his hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina, in front of lots of family, lots of friends, it might be a great way to kind of have his swan song and sail off into the sunset as he enters his NFL career. I'm going to have to insert a picture here in this show of me and Sam from high school. We've known each other for like 5 or 6 years now, so it's always really fun to be able to go back home and play against fellow players, or not fellow players, I'm not a player, but players who went to school near me. So he does have a lot of family, a lot of friends from the Union County area, from Charlotte, so that might be another side to that as well. But of course, all that money he's going to make in the NFL, I don't know if it's worth that perfect ending to the college career.
Well, he could finish his career, just thinking about this, he could finish his career in his hometown in the same stadium that he started his career,
Yep.
against the same team that he started his career against. So that actually would be a very poetic finish, I feel like, to his career. And I still say that game was the sort of beginning of the end of the Will Muschamp era. It really was. That game was sort of the Muschamp era being pushed off a cliff, basically.
Yeah, and of course, that was the very first game that I covered for South Carolina. So this season is actually the first time that things feel kind of happy, which is really, really weird to be able to use that term. But you talked about this game being winnable for South Carolina. And if the Gamecocks do, in fact, win, how huge is it for recruiting? I mean, you are the recruiting insider at Gamecock Central. So not only just recruiting in general, but also state-wise, being in South Carolina and then UNC in North Carolina, maybe getting some of those in-state or just right out-of-state players in North Carolina.
Yeah, first of all, just seeing 7-6 looks way better than 6-7. Just it sounds better, it looks better. It's a winning season, even though it's a one-game swing. It's the difference in a winning season and a losing season. But I think certainly South Carolina wants to recruit the state of North Carolina, and so you're also you're playing in that game in that state, obviously, but you're playing against UNC. And ever since Mac Brown took over, they have kind of controlled the state of North Carolina. You and I were talking about signing day plans, and I was going to try to find somewhere to send you in North Carolina because you were going to be in Charlotte. And I was like, there's nobody in this recruiting class from the state of North Carolina. When Steve Spurrier was here and when South Carolina was really rolling, every single recruiting class, they were landing 2, 3, 4, sometimes more guys from the state of North Carolina. If you're going to put together a blueprint that puts together a roster like South Carolina needs to compete in the East again, to me, it has to include at least a couple of players from that state every single year. And if you get 2 or 3 in every class, then it's going to make up, 12, 15, maybe sometimes 20 players on your entire roster. So Mac Brown came in, he shut down the state. There is a little bit, I think the door is cracked there because North Carolina had a disappointing season. Now they're going to lose Sam Howell. They lose some momentum, I think, going into next year. How long does Mac Brown want to be there? That's going to be a question that starts to pop up. If they were winning and winning big, recruiters couldn't use that. So to me, breaking back into the state of North Carolina, because we know what Georgia's doing below you. If you're South Carolina looking all around you, you know what Georgia's doing below you. You share the state with Clemson. The state of North Carolina has to be a big part of this, and it hasn't been yet. So that's why I think this specific game in that specific city, there's talent in Charlotte, as you know. So that I think that matters. I think it means a lot.
Mac Brown did certainly come in and shut down the state just right off the bat. Sam was committed to Florida State, and then Mac Brown accepted the head coaching job at UNC, and from there, the rest was history, snagging Sam from Florida State, and then so on and so forth. Many players from the Tar Heel State going to play for the Tar Heels. And like you said, I do think the door is opening a little bit here with Sam leaving. They've lost some talent from last year, even when they made it to the Orange Bowl, I believe, in 2020. So lots at stake for South Carolina here, not only a bowl game, but lots of future opportunities for the Gamecocks as well. Now, we talk about this game being very close to both schools. North Carolina super close to Charlotte, obviously, and then South Carolina just about an hour and a half away from the city of Charlotte. Just a little prediction, which fan base do you think is going to show out the best at Bank of America Stadium?
It's a great question. I'm going to give the Gamecocks the edge. I think, if you told me before the season this is where Carolina would go, I don't know if Gamecock fans, again, I think there's still a little bit of hesitancy about playing North Carolina, about playing in Charlotte again. But again, nobody really thought South Carolina was going bowling this season. So I think the fans will be a little bit slow to embrace it, but I do think they're going to embrace it. I think I've already seen that on Twitter, on the message board. Shane Beamer has already said, hey, look, Carolina got picked in this game because fans travel and the fans are going to support this team. It almost felt like he was kind of urging them a little bit like, hey, go buy those tickets, even though they're very expensive. So I think that the Gamecocks will show out and will be there. And then, but if they don't play well this time in Charlotte, you just have to cancel all USC games in that town for the next, I'm going to say at least 3 decades.
3 decades?
Yes, even though I think they're already scheduled to play there again in 2023.
Oh my gosh. I thought you were going to say 3 years. It's like, okay, 3 years. Like that.
No, it's over. If Carolina does not play well, if they don't play well,
oh my gosh.
Sorry, we're not coming to your town anymore, Kendall.
I think your hashtag, instead of hashtag avoid the meme for the coaches, yours needs to be hashtag dramatic. Because that's a little dramatic, a little bit dramatic. You know what else is actually very dramatic? The fact that this game is at 11:30 in the morning. That is the one bone I have to pick with the Duke's Mayo Bowl. 11:30 in the morning. I mean, I was a complainer about the night games at the end of the season because then we would be at Williams-Brice Stadium.
Okay, now who's being dramatic? Who's being dramatic?
No, mine would be hashtag complainer. You're hashtag dramatic. I'm hashtag complainer. That's what it is on today's show. But 11:30, all you fans, all I have to say is if you are going to this game, your tailgates are going to have to start at like 7 in the morning. And there are some good tailgating spots around Bank of America Stadium because I have been there several times, but I also used to work over at formerly BB&T Ballpark, now Truist Park with the Charlotte Knights. And there's no excuse not to get a good tailgate spot around Bank of America Stadium because it will be popping. It'll just be popping at 7 o'clock in the morning on December 30th when it is freezing cold because the difference between Charlotte and Columbia in weather is actually pretty apparent. Like, I didn't realize that until I moved. But Charlotte is freezing, and I can't take it anymore. It is so cold.
And 7:30 is way too early to eat anything with mayonnaise as well, I feel like. 7:30 in the morning, if you're out there tailgating, you don't – no. We're not having –
No, I think you could figure out a way.
Oh, God. Okay.
You could. People put sriracha or, spicy mayo on their eggs. You could do,
all right.
or something.
I can maybe go with some spicy mayo on some eggs.
I mean, you
maybe
can
on
say
a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. Some people put mayonnaise on that.
Right.
But there are much fewer options. You got to agree with that.
There are, but you could also say that 7:30 is too early for a beer, but people are still going to be drinking beers. So
that's true.
For special occasions, you have to alter.
Well, you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. So I believe that will be.
I'm not endorsing any.
That would be the theory for Gamecock fans on that day.
Well, we will have plenty more bowl coverage coming throughout the month of December, a very, very busy month. Not only the bowl, but National Signing Day coming up on December 15th. The West is doing a fantastic job alongside of Chris Clark, keeping everybody up to date on what you need to know in the world of recruiting. I read their articles every day. You should read them too. If you're not subscribed to GamecockCentral.com, be sure to subscribe. This is the opportunity to do it because, again, so much coming out over the next month also with basketball. So much. I don't even know how we get it all done, but we do. So, Wes, thank you for previewing this Duke's Mayo Bowl matchup between South Carolina and North Carolina. I think in honor of the Before the Sandstorm that's going to happen for the Duke's Mayo Bowl, we need to get a big bowl of Duke's Mayo and figure out something with mayo to make to ring in the occasion correctly.
Okay, I can do that, but just no mayo bath. Nobody's getting hit with the mayo bath on this.
Okay, all right, we can get on board with that. But everyone, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your Monday, and we will see you back on Gamecock Central soon.